First of all, I think we mentioned this in the lesson before, the lesson, I think the previous lesson. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant relief to our Muslim brothers and sisters in Palestine and elsewhere. We feel for them and we know that they are being oppressed, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant them the greatest of rewards. For those who have been killed, obviously it's martyrdom to be buried under rubble or to have a building destroyed upon you. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He accepts and He makes them to be martyrs, that the children amongst them, obviously they will go into paradise. We ask Allah to give them a tremendous reward for their patience. Now when it comes to speaking about this issue, we have to be very, very careful, because as we said before, there are many, many people who speak on the basis of emotion. It's a very emotive issue. And these are the types of fitan where people, they will end up being drowned, because they can't tame their emotions through sound, authentic knowledge and sound Islamic principles. Right? The ability to rein in your emotions and to control your emotions. This is what distinguishes a strong person, a person of firm resolution, of firm will, compared to the people who are just like, effectively just, they're just like, this is a sign of their weakness, right? That you become overtaken by rage and by emotion. It means that really you do not have conviction in what Allah Azza wa Jal has informed us in the Quran. Right? It's a sign of weakness and a sign of lack of conviction in Allah's promise that it is true. And so we have to be careful. There are many, many people on social media and elsewhere. They like to use this issue, as I said, the issue of Palestine, or it could be any other calamity. And they have ideological motives. They have reasons to attack Salafis in particular. Why? Because of our conviction in the truth of what the Messenger of Allah, what he brought regarding these types of calamities, these types of events, why they happen, what the reason is, like in detail, how to deal with it, how to resolve it, right? And I want to give you just a very quick example of this to show how these things have happened in history. In the time of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, the Mongols attacked from the east. And there were things that happened that were much worse than what we are seeing today in Palestine. Because when the Mongols came from the direction of the east, they passed through Baghdad. And in Baghdad, this is Holako, right? And some of the Rafida, the evil Rafida, they basically played a role in directing the Mongols, in deceiving the ruler of Baghdad into giving up or whatever, right? So they aided the Mongols against the Sunni Muslims. In any case, when they came, they slaughtered, as you know the story, they sacked the whole of Baghdad. The city was flowing in blood. They killed I don't know how many tremendous butchery and massacre. And then they were coming across, and then they came towards Sham in the time of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. There, the people of knowledge, the scholars, they actually differed with each other. Some scholars said, we have to go out, we must do jihad in the path of Allah, we have to fight them, we have to stop them, we have to repel them, whatever. Other scholars said, this really isn't the time to be doing that. Now imagine the situation now, right? There's a invading army coming from the east, ravaging everything, right? Destroying everybody, massacring, whatever. And you hear some scholars saying, no, this is not the time. Like, what would you imagine would be said about those scholars, right? I'm trying to give you this, I'm giving this example to show you that the difference between being rooted in knowledge, and then while being rooted in knowledge, making an ijtihad that might be right or wrong, and between just reacting with emotion, right? So in this situation, Ibn Taymiyyah explains this in one of his books, Ar-Radd ala al-Bakri, right? And he says that this dispute happened between the people of knowledge. So what happened is, Ibn Taymiyyah, he basically advised that if we look at the hal of the people, what do we see the people? When they heard the Mongols coming from the east, the first thing they started doing was running out. They started running out, going to the graves, seeking refuge in the graves, saying in poetry that the Tatar have come, we seek refuge in you, O Aba Umar, they're like making these, and this is what the people were upon. And so the scholars, who were deeply grounded and rooted, and they said, if this is the situation of the people, then it's unlikely that the jihad that we fight against the Mongols is going to be successful. So we shouldn't really do it. So Ibn Taymiyyah says, for the next years, we embarked upon educating the people to invoke only Allah alone, right? To make tawakkul upon Allah. So they went out and they had to teach the people the affairs of Tawheed, and to make Tawheed rooted in, because before it wasn't rooted in their hearts, to make Tawheed rooted in their hearts, right? So when this happened and the affair of the people was rectified, Ibn Taymiyyah says that there were such victories against the Tartars, against the Mongols, that the Muslims had never ever seen before. They were victorious over the Mongols. Now, this situation, I'm sure, has happened many times in history where there are differences of opinion. Now, can you imagine someone coming along and saying about those scholars who said this is not the time for fighting, right? Imagine someone saying, you are from the Munafiqeen, you are from the Yahud, you are from the this, you are from that, whatever. This would be a stupid, evil, misguided, ignorant fool who would be making remarks like this. You wouldn't make remarks like this. It shows your complete lack of comprehension of the religion to be even making remarks like that, right? Now, if we now come and we are honest with ourselves, right? So again, this is not for the effeminate men who are overtaken by emotion that we see amongst these people of bid'ah. This is not for you. So you leave the arena and leave it for the men to discuss the actual issues, right? So we know in the Sunnah, as the Messenger of Allah said, someone came and said, O Messenger of Allah, a man fights for bravery, a man fights for tribal nationalism, a man fights for booty. Who is the one fighting for the sake of Allah? And so the Messenger of Allah said, the one who fights so that the word of Allah is uppermost. He is the one who is fighting fi sabilillah, right? Al-Qital and jihad in the Sharia is qualified by fi sabilillah. It's qualified by that. What does that mean? To make the word of Allah uppermost. Okay, that's the jihad that Allah Azza wa Jal, He gives victory to, that He aids, that He supports. Where? Because the point of dispute is the kalima la ilaha illallah. That's the point of dispute, right? Now, if you come back to the hadith, the one who fights for hamiyyah, like the one who fights for tribal nationalism, partisanship, right? If you are going to fight for nationalism, for a nation, then there's no difference between you and between any other nation. And that's what the scholars have explained, that if you fight and they refute, when the scholars, when they refute Qawmiyya al-Arabiyya, the scholars spoke about this, Ibn Baz, Rahimahullah, and many other scholars, that this evil filth has come to us from the direction of the enemies, right? They have put this, through certain rulers like Saddam Hussein and, Jamal Abdel Nasser and others, they infused this idea of Arabic nationalism in order to weaken the Muslim nations, right? And so there's this nationalism, there's other things that have come which have weakened the Muslim Ummah. If you fight on the basis of nationalism, then you will be ruined, and you will be lost, and you will be destroyed. And now there's no difference between you and between any other non-Muslim nation who's also fighting for nationalism, right? You want a state, they want a state, right? This is nationalism now, okay, right? What do you find amongst those people who are fighting, right? The head of, from these heads of Hamas, and we are speaking here in terms of what their creed is, what their methodology is. You will find statements from them saying in the 90s, earlier on, or in 2000, that saying, for example, yes, we are fighting because we are trying to establish democracy and equal rights for everybody, and these are their words, the actual words, right? Right? And you have communists, you have secularists, you have Marxists, actual groups of actual Marxists, of actual communists who are Palestinians there, right? Now, let's be honest with ourselves. Is this something that Allah Azza wa Jal is going to aid in the way that He aided the Rusul, Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? What is being fought for? What's at stake? What's the dispute? Right? And what are you after? You after a homeland? Are you after what is it? These are questions that, as I said, the people of the Sunnah are able to raise these questions, because these are what the usul and the foundations from the religion that they know are the truth, and they know how Allah's aid is obtained, right? So this is just one angle. This is just one angle of looking at the whole situation, right? If you're going to fight for nationalism, then, this does not mean in any way, form or fashion that somehow now we do not support our Muslim brothers and sisters, right? Only an idiot, a fool, a liar, a kadhab, an enmitous one who hates the people of the Sunnah and the truth that they speak would ever reason like that. Do you understand? Like, just because we've pointed out the truth that Allah only aids that which is fi sabilillah, which is not fought for hamiyya, not for whatever, right? Only that is what is aided by Allah. That when we point that out and we try to make clear what is obvious, that if you fight for nationalism, then this is not going to win the aid and the support of Allah, right? Only a fool and an idiot from the people of bid'ah is going to use that now and say, oh, you are hypocrites because now you support the oppressing party. No, that doesn't follow. We are trying to analyze and truthfully find the right solution to the problem in accordance with the rules of Allah in His creation, and what Allah has mentioned in His book, and what the scholars we know from experience, like I gave the example of Ibn Taymiyyah in his time, right? That this is how you analyze these situations, right? So this in no way means that we do not support our brothers and sisters who are being oppressed and occupied and bombed and murdered and whatever. Of course not. But we have to be honest. We have to be honest, in treating the situation. It's like if a physician came and instead of doing what actually needs to be done upon the proper analysis, he just tried to comfort and give emotional, to the subject, and just ignored the how is he going to cure anything or treat it? It's not going to make any sense. So in the same way, you have to treat these situations in the same way, like as a physician, based upon the principles and the rules. That's just one thing anyway. That's the first thing anyway. The second thing is just pure common sense, pure reason, like our scholars have explained before, like Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah, from 20, 30 years ago, he said, what is the benefit of you going and attacking a bus or two buses, killing one or two people, whatever, and then they come along and they bombard and they take 10, 20, 100, even 1,000. Where's the aql? Where's the benefit in this? Of what benefit is this to anybody? What are you doing apart from just enabling the confiscation of more and more land and the increased militarization? Where's the benefit in this? Does it even make any sense? Do you understand? Right? So again, putting emotions to one side, ask yourself one thing. What was the benefit of October 7th? What was the benefit in that? Tell us now. Put all emotions to one side. Right? What is the benefit? What was the benefit now? Half of Gaza is now militarily occupied, half of it. 1 million and so many people are now pushed to the south. So what was the benefit in that then? Give it another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and maybe they'll take, the whole of it, whatever. Where was the benefit in that then? And the strangest thing is, these other people, like we are concerned for the blood and the land of the Palestinians when we say what we say, genuinely. And the realities support what we say. Right? Look at the outcome. Right? The strangest thing is these people who hate the people of the Sunnah, they have to be complete, they have to be deranged. We don't know what it is with these people. They have to be deranged to somehow accuse us of saying, well, you are with the Zionists and you are munafiqun, you are hypocrites, you are this, you are that. How can you even say that? It doesn't even make any sense. Just because we don't support the actions of Hamas doesn't mean that we are not with, and our sentiments are not with the people of Palestine. No. This is great injustice. In fact, this is just cold, calculated lies that you are telling against the people of the Sunnah who are more knowledgeable than you. They are wiser than you. They are greater, they are more masculine than you. Right? Because you are just effeminate. You're just emotion-filled, effeminate. I don't want to use the words. But this is not for you to speak in. You just go away and just, whatever. Don't speak about this. It's not for you to speak about this. Clearly, you're not qualified to speak about this. Right? So this is now a second dimension to it, right? Which is just ground realities, practicalities, which the scholars have already spoken with and which these people don't accept from us. Right? Which is, what's the benefit in doing that? When you've just lost half the land, that you were living on, and you've displaced over 1 million people, you've destroyed so many people's lives, so many people's children have been killed, 10, 15,000. What was the benefit in that then? There is no benefit. Right? So that's the second thing. I mean, there are many things can be said, to be honest with you. But, inshallah, these fitan are going to increase. These tribulations are going to increase. Anyone who is firmly rooted in knowledge and takes learning seriously, he will be protected from being tossed and pushed in every direction whenever any new fitna comes. Right? This is just the start of the fitna. There are more fitna. As you know, there's no time, from the hadith of Anas bin Malik, there's no time, except that the time which will come after it will be worse than it. And the tribulations come successively. They will come in a way that, as soon as one's dropped, the next one's going to drop. Right? This is tribulation. Right? Tribulation, they fabricated the whole pandemic, COVID. Right? This tribulation destroyed the world's economy, ruined people's livelihoods, whatever. Straight on the back of that, another tribulation, a war, another tribulation. It's on and on and on and on. Right? It's like that. And so someone who is not rooted in tawheed, aqeedah, actual aqeedah, right? He will be tossed and turned in every direction. That's why these people of bid'ah who are attacking us, They have no knowledge of Aqidah. You look at what do they talk about? Nothing. In terms of like the actual religion, Aqidah, Tawheed, nothing. They don't teach it. They don't speak about it. Right? They don't value it. And they're the most confused and misguided in their positions. They have the most enmity and hatred towards the people of Tawheed and the Sunnah, who speak with wisdom, who speak to care genuinely for the lives of the Muslims and the welfare of the Muslims and for the next. You see, they're the ones who are going to be swept away in the fitan. And unsurprisingly, we wouldn't be surprised if they are the ones who are going to end up following Dajjal when he comes, right? As we know about the Rafidah will follow him, the Khawarij will be in his midst, as we see in authentic hadith, and the Yahud are going to be with him as well. Some, not all, right? Because that hadith, as scholars explain, it's not all the Yahud, some of the Yahud. And those that remain after Isa alayhi salam kills him, they will become Muslim. Right? It's not all the Yahud. So these are the types of people who are going to be put into tribulation. Why? Because they are speaking without knowledge, without grounding in Tawheed, without understanding and knowing the rules of Allah and His creation. And, they speak with Jahl. So we have to be careful not to engage with these types of people. We have enough to be involved in relation to ourselves, our families. Every man be concerned with himself and save himself and his family. But this is very dangerous to speak in these issues without knowledge. And they're going to, like I said, it is slowly going to be a separation between those who are grounded upon sound, authentic knowledge in which there's no role for emotion and sentiments, and between those who are just given to their hawa and their emotions and their feelings and their rage and their anger, right? And it's going to be like a divide like this. And the fitna are going to come, the tribulation is going to come. One group is going to be more and more cemented, and the other people are just going to perish and go into ruin. And the dividing line is sound, authentic knowledge, sound creed, sound methodology. That's what the determining thing is. So we shouldn't feel, just because all these people are barking like dogs, as the Shaykh mentioned in his lecture. So you find some of them, they bark like dogs at you. Let them bark like dogs. Ignore them. Right? So that's what I can say in brief. There's a lot more to be said. But inshallah, that's what I can say on the topic very, very briefly. And Allah knows best. Allah knows best.